All right, all right. Good day, good day, good day, everybody. And welcome again to another chat time for All for Success. I want to welcome each and every one of you here this morning. And I am definitely praying and hoping that your morning and your day and your week went well. So, we are here once again in this space, All for Success with an X. And in this space, we are a Sussex friendly channel. I know not everyone can say that. So here we like to look at things that might be going on in the lives of the wonderful Harry and Meghan and in from the viewpoint of people who might have children that are also adult children. It's how we show our support for the journey that they're on, the struggles that they may meet. So come on into the chat. Look, I've got the coffee being made on screen. So this is your chance to sit down, get yourselves a cup of coffee if you want to sit and listen. However, if instead you're out for a walk and you've got on your headphones, by the time I wrap up, you probably will have gotten in at least a mile, hopefully. And for those of you who might be bike riding, hey, maybe even 2 miles. So it gives you a chance to keep this chat going in the background while you're moving around and running errands or doing a few things. So, for those of you who are getting in here, get your coffee on, get yourselves settled in, and get ready to see what we can look at that may have occurred over the past week and give our take or take away from it what we can. Okay, so what do we need to do first and foremost? For those of you coming, if you're new, please like, share, and subscribe. Actually, even if you've come in and out before, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Let's see if we can get those numbers up, 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 because I'm seeing thousands and thousands of views for people who are saying horrible stuff. So it seems like some of us who are saying decent things, we should have views as well. But hey, we know that is the way of the world, right? For whatever reason, we have this world space where whatever is negative and belligerent is always going to get the highest priority. So let's just hope this year we are able to make a few changes in that arena and bring the positive up to the highest levels. Okay, so anyway, welcome and like, share, and subscribe. All right, so if everybody's got their coffee, well, here are some wonderful things that we're going to look at that was going on. And of course, I have to always remind everyone to definitely keep us apprised and motivate ourselves and each other to jump in on some kind of fitness journey this week. So if you've had a chance to get out and walk, exercise, aerobics, yoga, in the chat, give us a thumbs up and let us know, hey, what you had to do this week to keep fit and to try to stay on top. I would like to report that I was able to walk this week and I really enjoyed it. But oddly, I also need to let you know, for some reason, several days I ached and I thought, why am I hurting all over? Now, I don't know if that's because of the weather, because it did kind of get cold and we did get a little bit of rain. But I mean, it seemed out of the blue that I was feeling fine. And then the next thing I know, I felt sore all over. So I don't know. I'm worried. I wondered if I had done too much at the gym. I like to get on the bike and ride out there on the reclining bike in the gym. But for some reason, I was sore. But I will say today I feel much better. But anyway, put a thumbs up in the chat. Let us know what your fitness journey is. Let's keep each other motivated so that we all stay on top of that. Again, if we're parents of adult children, we've got a few years behind us. So we've got to keep everything oiled up and running, okay? Got to do maintenance. So I would like to encourage everyone to do that. All right, so I'm going to jump over here to I just have a handful of slides. I'm not going to stay on the chat very, very long, but I hope that you can take away a few uplifting thoughts when I do close out. So that's where we want to go. But over the last week, we had a wonderful opportunity to see our wonderful Harry and Meghan doing what they do. They were out and about in the community. My wonderful Megan had an opportunity to participate on the board, the panel of South by Southwest. So, for those of you who have an opportunity, if you haven't seen that panel, and I know a lot of people are sometimes put off and they think, oh, wow, another panel of people talking. But I've got to tell you, they had Brooke Shields on the panel, Meghan Markle was on the panel. I believe Gina Davis is one of the proprietors. And I've got to tell you that the things that they tell you when they are sharing their experiences as young women working in the business of media or in the acting space, and how they were able to continue to maneuver and march forward to try and achieve their goals. It is really fascinating. And above all, it's extremely inspiring. The key is most of us who have lived long enough, we've experienced trials and tribulations ourselves. And so we are fully aware that our children are going to go through those same journeys. Of course, we don't want them to, right? I mean, most parents don't want you to go through the same type of obstacles that we may have faced. But here's what we know once we get to the ages that we are and our children are adults, that it is unfortunately unavoidable. And so, what we do need to try to impart upon our young children is how to overcome those obstacles, how to face those obstacles. Because the reality is, the obstacles will come, the barriers are going to be there, right? The naysayers are going to be in your space. But it is very difficult, even as a parent, it is very difficult to switch from the place of saying to your children, you can do anything and anything is possible. You can achieve anything you want. Go forth and do great things. There is a very, very hairline jump from that place to the place of, now let me tell you what the reality is. Let me explain to you, in this reality, you may not achieve the things you want to achieve in the way that you want to achieve them, right? That is a difficult pivot for a parent. It's almost a pivot that we don't want to make, right? There's not a parent that I'm aware of that wants to look a child in the face and say, you know what, you're probably not going to make it. Who wants to say that, right? And when I see the journey that Harry and Meghan are on, this is the type of thing that is going on in the back of my mind. You know, when you look at the obstacles that they are facing and the things that they are trying to overcome, who would have thought at any time in their past, given the actual lives that they had lived, that at some point in that lifetime, you would basically be teeter-tottering between the thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if they're going to make it, right? Oh my goodness, I wonder how they're going to deal with this. But that is exactly what the reality of parenting can be, right? You're fearful every single moment. You're fearful that things can happen that will upset the apple cart. And so, of course, what do you try to do? You try to grab your children and you try to hold them close. You don't want them to experience bad things, which means in some cases, you don't want them to experience anything. You don't want them to go anywhere, right? You don't want them to go outside. Oh, they might, the rain, they might get rained on. But anyway, all of those things are in the thoughts and in the process of living the lives we live. So back to the Harry and Meghan community. Here's a community of people who we can observe exactly what is happening to them. We're often perplexed at the extent to which the media has moved to continue this smear campaign. For example, I would have thought 6 months of smear campaign would have been enough, and then everyone would have retreated back to their corner. If you had told me that the smear campaign was not only going to continue beyond 5 years, I would have thought there's no way that any media resource would dedicate enough of their time and energy to totally trying to smear other people for 5 years. I want to point out, and I hope you all can understand my thought process here, but I want to point out that there are at least, and I'm talking in least because I want round numbers which are easy for us to comprehend. There are at least 5 television channels in the United Kingdom that are dedicated to having at least 3 to 5 people say something negative about Meghan Markle every single day. Just put that thought in your mind. Think about the number. There are at least 3 dedicated channels in Australia that have at least 2 people on every channel that say something negative and derisive about Meghan Markle every single day, to include Saturday and Sunday. So let's look at the numbers. Look at that number. We're over 5 years, every single day, 365 days a year. And they have dedicated a mission of mouthpieces and personalities and characters to say something derisive about this individual every single day. It is almost unavoidable. It is almost impossible, say, to not have heard something horrible about Meghan Markle over this entire planet. Think about this. It's amazing, isn't it? Now, that being said, I want you to kind of keep those numbers in your mind, massage that thought, right? Now, in the United States, it's a little bit more subtle, but all they do is transplant the UK media personalities, right? They just transplant an opportunity for a UK personality to show up on a television show here in the US, right? So they may not be talking about them every single day here on the actual television stations here, but the personalities show up via satellite link or some kind of invite to some show here where they can spew their daily dose of hatred, right? So here's where I'm going with this. I want everybody to kind of stop, pause, look at the sky, and ask yourself, now, who would be able to have that kind of power to put in place a machine, let's say, or a strategy to continue a smear campaign worldwide, propaganda every single day? And we're now at plus 5 years. We're going on 8 years. And they have not missed a day to say something negative about Harry and Meghan. Now, of course, what did I not count? I did not count the newspaper articles. I did not count the little snippets that are placed online in the media spaces online. I didn't even count those. Why? Because they're numbering in the millions, right? So let's look at this. Let's look at the sky. Let's wave. Let's, what did I say? Let's wave our hands and let's ask this question. Who in the world, who of this world, who of this world would have the means, would have the smear ability to take an individual that for maybe, now she was almost 40 when she got married, right? So who could take an individual who for 40 years has walked this planet without any significant um, recourse or any significant interaction, and within 8 years smeared their name planetary wide. Now let just give that a moment. Give that a moment to think about it. I don't think any of us have heard about serial killers for 8 years straight. I don't think any of us could name the top 10 serial killing, child pedophile ring having people that have been talked about every single day for 8 years. As a matter of fact, I don't think Jeffrey Epstein has been mentioned that much. So let's think about that. Now, put a pin in that thought. Put a pin in it. Now, what we did have though is we had the wonderful family, the wonderful couple showed up. They did South by Southwest. It's excellent. It's wonderful to listen to. You please need to check it out. It's fun. And Brooke Shields, my goodness, she is funny. She is hilarious. And she really did go through some challenges. Okay, our wonderful couple had an opportunity. What do you do when you go to Texas? When you go to Texas, you must have barbecue. So what did they do? They went and had barbecue. And so these wonderful people had an opportunity to share a photo with them. Of course, what did you hear? Did you hear anything negative come out of that? Nope, no, you didn't. Also, they had an opportunity to go and visit with the family that they had met after that awful crisis at the Uvalde school shooting. And of course, they went over. She did a birthday cake celebration with someone she had met there and who was very encouraging to her, which is wonderful, right? Nothing bad coming out of that, except where? In the UK tabloid media, right? Somehow they found a way to twist even something like that. Okay. But here's what you're looking at. They're looking at in the world, they want to always draw this comparison that you see on screen right here. There is always a need to draw this comparison, right? So it's always this picture here against the other picture there. One is supposed to be perfection. We're supposed to think that one of these photos is the picture of absolute perfection. This is in the world what you're supposed to try to achieve. But guess what? You know you can't achieve it because you're not born into it, right? But yet this is put up in front of you. This is hailed over you as this is the picture of perfection, right? You're the royal family of perfection. And this is what you're supposed to look like. This you can't achieve. Why? Because you're not born there. You're not born into that. But here the picture on the left of a man and a woman and their two kids sitting cheerily, taking a photograph, laughing at whatever is going on in the room. That, believe it or not, is achievable. Whether it's both the parents or one parent, or whether it's just the kids and laughing and giggling and everything all awry, that's hilarious and that is achievable. All of us can be in that picture. But you're now supposed to believe that is the evil photo. That's the photo of the negatives. That's bad. Right? Everything about them is bad. Again, process that for a moment. Take your time, take a deep breath, and process. Where is that coming from? Think about that. Who made that decision? Who gave us that image? So let's just put a pin in that, right? Again, we got to put a pin in it. And here's why. Because I want to talk to you all, and I don't get mad at me, okay? I don't know. I am not going to be trying to create any type of cult, nor am I trying to be a catalyst of any kind. I am not here recruiting. Okay. I am not here recruiting people. All right. But I use the Bible. I want you all to know. I use the Bible and things that I read sometimes because I do read Bible verses here and there. And of course, it's how I came up. So please don't be mad at me. But I use it in the way that I would quote something I heard on a television show. Okay. So just think about that. So just kind of stick with me here before everyone before you bow out and go, okay, great, I've heard enough. But before I do that, I do want to say good morning to folks. And before I get into this, I want to say good morning to all of you. And I want to take a look. Let's see who's in the comment box. So let me see if there's anybody I need to say good morning to that I missed so far. I'll at least take a break and do that. All right, but anyway, we'll stand by. All right, we're going to say good morning, Andrea Elaine. So she says, blessed Saturday to you and all here. Thank you so much. And good morning to you. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday as well. Oh, I love this. Adorable. Adorable sends us many, many hearts. Thank you. That makes my day. I totally appreciate it. And good morning to you, adorable. And here we have a note from Rafaela Bertone. Hello and blessed Saturday, my friends. Thank you so much. You know what? Every Saturday, we definitely need it. It is so hard for me to keep myself going. And thank you again. Oh, and I love this. This is actually to another person, but it's from Italy. Great. That's wonderful. Bertone from Italy. Love it. Thank you so much. And she's saying, Gloria C, good morning, good morning. The boy is off course. You know what? You should be ashamed of yourself. But I think you're absolutely correct. And we're probably going to find out a whole lot, lot, lot more that is going on. And we're going to get, you know what? I'm going to just mention it off sides because there are thousands of channels out there, thousands of speakers out there who are going down the list of what they think is going on, right? Like everybody has a proposed theory and a proposed concept. I am going to just put out, oh, okay, I don't want to divert, but anyway, I'm going to say hello and then I'm going to tell you how I see what's happening with the royal family. It's bizarre. Okay. I'm going to just go into that in just a second. But good morning also to Andrea Elaine. I said again, all right. I see that you guys are in here just chit chatting and having a good time. All right. That's cool. But I'll get back to more of, oh my goodness. I heard this pound sound where I'm at and I'm beginning to think something is falling. But anyway, I'll get back to more of that in just a bit. Uh, she says for Principe Sussex, I love it. They are special persons. Yes, they are. They are indeed. All right. So I'll get back to more of that as I go on through here. But I was about to have two different thoughts at the same time, but here's what's going on. Before I go to this slide that I have in view, I wanted to let you all know something or just a thought. I was considering what it's like in the workplace, right? And in the workplace, for me, it's a very hierarchy structured workplace. There are rank structures. There are people who've been in the job a certain amount of time that gives them a certain amount of position, right? And status. And I started thinking how people act and behave on the job when they see who is the person at the top of the chart. Like you come into the door, you come into your new employee, and you're being introduced. You see who is the number one spot in that job. Who is the person that, from your perspective, they make all the decisions. And in general, most people try their best to ingratiate themselves to that person. They try not to upset that person, or they try to make a good impression on that person, and they do things to try and be what we call in good with the person at the top. I believe what we are seeing, what all of this nonsense that you are seeing right now, even the fact that perhaps Kate is out of pocket or sick or being held out of the public eye, whatever that is, I believe all of this orchestration has occurred because there is a known shift in the power structure in progress, right? For example, everyone knew the queen was the queen. So whether you agreed with what she had going on or you disagreed with what she had going on, whether you wanted to participate in the things she had lined up and her personnel, and I always have to stress, and her staff, because most of the things that were happening with the queen were almost automatic, right? Because her staff ran all those things. She only had to basically agree or disagree, right? So, of course, the change between the queen, her staff, as she got more and more out of the decision making process, and Charles began to pull the power structure, put his people in place, you began to see a dynamic shift in even the attitude coming from the royal structure. You began to see a slight shift in how things were going to be done. And one of those major things was his line about that slimmed down monarchy. You see, Prince Charles had a definite intention of not involving as many people who are in and around the queen, all of the staffers that she had, all of the agents that she had, the secretaries. He wanted, because those people basically had power. And in some cases, Charles himself would be limited at things that he could do or get away with in a fact, because of all these staffers around the queen. So his whole mission was what? To withdraw and reduce all of these people so that he could then run the monarchy the way he thought he should. Unfortunately, what happened? No sooner than he got in that full position, even though he started pulling the people out of their lineups and moving different agents around. I mean, he and Andrew were key to removing and replacing the Queen's private secretary. And this is a person that she had worked with, what, probably 30 years. But they were instrumental in removing that gentleman, which then gave them the ability to maneuver and call the shots about things that the Queen would be made aware of. And I'm saying this in regard to Harry and Meghan, because there is a point, back to the book, if you all refer back to those pages, where Harry specifically indicates he was about to go and meet the Queen, he and Meghan. And it was at this point they were going to actually talk about their thoughts about working in other places or moving around or not being so much a part of the UK royal structure. This is what they were going to do. But before they could do that, one of the staffers had run interference and basically blocked this meeting, so that when he said they were going to come and meet, the Queen actually had to respond to him as if she was in a hostage situation. Well, they tell me that I have another obligation, and so I won't be able to meet and talk with you. Right? Now, imagine that. Now, I mean, it sounds like a movie, but it is the absolute truth. She could not, she could not at that moment say, well, no, I'm not going to that event. I'm going to talk to my grandson. Or matter of fact, send my grandson, he can meet me at the event. Basically, interference was run so that she was advised not to talk to them at this time. So, what happened in the book, or as Harry best describes it, it prevented him from having that heartfelt discussion about what was going on with Meghan, how things were happening, the situations they were facing, and the proposals for how to mitigate it. That didn't happen. Instead, this new person that was put in place by King Charles ran interference, blocked that, and thus the next time Harry is in the midst of the Queen and the discussion is going on about what he's choosing to do, the decisions have already been made, and the Queen basically had no input, right? And thus he was out, and they told him it's all out or all in, right? And they had already decided, well, you're all out. And basically, that announcement was about to be made. So, in other words, what I'm saying is that was the setup. And see, in a hierarchy, you can run these kinds of scams because if people are in the position at the top, then they start bringing in their methodology and their minions start doing the work. Well, the issue is, and I think what we're seeing and why we're seeing such disruption and we're seeing such chaos is because as soon as King Charles thought he was going to put his feet down and everything was going to be in place, what happened is that the minions found out that he's ill, and we do not know the extent of his illness, but I bet they have a better idea. And as soon as they heard what they say, as soon as they smell blood in the water, they immediately started repositioning themselves for what they thought was going to be a coming change in command. That means they're trying to waffle between pleasing Prince William, covering for Prince William, just in case they want to stay on board and prove themselves of value to Prince William and what his game plan is. The bigger problem with Prince William is this. He may not have a true loyalty to the old style tradition or the people who were in place. And thus you are seeing a layer of chaos because all of those parts and pieces of the puzzle that used to work together and keep all of that show going on underneath the surface, those old heads are gone. Many of those key people have been moved aside, right? Now, we don't know if that's because they voluntarily left due to the Queen passing. Maybe they didn't like working with King Charles. And then how about this? If King Charles is not doing well, there's probably a layer underneath there that will refuse to work with Camilla, right? So what I think we're seeing, and now I have to throw in the words here, alleged, I have to throw in my own opinion, I have to throw in things like, this is how I see it, because I can't indicate that this is what's real. I don't know, right? But I wanted to make sure I pointed that out from where we sit, that what you're seeing basically is you're seeing a War of the Roses. That's the old movie. I think you guys need to check it out, right? You're seeing a movie, The White Queen. These people are twisting and turning and trying to jockey for position and power because they absolutely smell blood in the water. And King Charles is becoming a more diminished figure. And Queen Camilla and her minions, right, are actually probably trying to bring in the power structure. Because whether she's there or not, you got to admit, this woman is queen. And she has always had a contingent of people and characters all around her. These are friends for her. These are friends since childhood. So this power dynamic is what's going on and in play. Now, what is the question? Everyone now has this big question. Where do you think Prince William stands in this power dynamic? Right? Perhaps Queen Camilla, allegedly, right? Perhaps Queen Camilla is supportive of Prince William and his laziness. Perhaps Queen Camilla is understanding of the fact that, well, you mean you have a mistress? She might be understanding of that. Queen Camilla and her contingent plan might be showing support, acting like she's an ally. After all, Prince William might need to look out for her should King Charles pass away. Wow. And I'm sure she would like to make sure that her family and friends are secure. Right? So you're probably looking at right now, what is the compilation of maybe a Prince William, Queen Camilla-esque grab for power or stability. And I do believe that perhaps Kate Middleton and the Middletons themselves may have been a liability. Now, that's just my thoughts, and that's alleged. And I know it's not as exciting as the people who've posted things like maybe she's out getting a BBL. I mean, that is hilarious, right? But I'm thinking more again like the old movie sets. I'm seeing a situation where these people are battling it out, and there's a power struggle, and there's a lot of duplicity involved. And if you think one of these guys are friends with the others, they don't really believe in friendships because they don't even believe in real family. For everything that they do, it is all a performance to stay in power, right? And of course, all of the minions that are working underneath it, all of the people in the positions underneath it, the assistants, the comms directors, the social media people who are trying to help them, all of these people and their personalities, even the royal rota, the way that they come out on television and dance like marionettes to try and weave a story of everything is fine, everything is wonderful, everyone is doing so well, and they all work so hard. I mean, boy, you know what? Those lines are repeated just like that, right? You've all heard them. The lines are the same. They work so hard. Everything is going to be okay, I'm sure. We're all praying for them. They're such good people. They've never put a foot wrong. Okay, all of that, right? Propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. But the battle is definitely happening inside those palace walls. So here's what I'm going to try to leave you all with, because I want everybody to get to step on up. And here's the exciting thing. And I don't know if I had a chance to mention that. I hope I have it somewhere, because we all know that Princess Meghan definitely launched her new Instagram presence, and it is called American Riviera. We'll mention that again. But with all of that happening, we do see that Harry and Meghan, they are standing strong. They are definitely being fierce fighters. And I hope that much of the world stays in their corner as they continue to power through, because I sense that they are doing good things. But here's what I wanted to remind you all of, okay? Because I always like to go, oh, someone's got motors running somewhere near me. But I always want to go to where I get a little bit of my own strength to keep the thoughts in the positive realm. Now, I'm going to refer folks here to Ephesians chapter 6. Now, listen, I know everybody calm down, just calm down. This Ephesians chapter 6 is one that really sets most people's teeth on edge. And many of you know why, especially if you're from the United States and if you are a person of color. This chapter is one of the notorious biblical chapters meant to make people happy about being enslaved, right? So I don't want anyone to get mad at me. Please, please don't call me names, okay? But don't call me names. But anyway, here's the quick rundown of Ephesians chapter 6, and I'll tell you why I brought this up. So in 6, first of all, they start off with saying, children, obey your parents. Well, that's pretty basic. And then they run down that list of things. They want you to honor your mother and father. Of course, it says father and mother, but you want to honor your parents, of course. And then they want them to deal well with you. But you know what? Here's the key. In Ephesians, everyone always talks about the fact that they put in here is the thing that they would like for you to do, and then there's always a caveat to how a person is supposed to reciprocate that action, right? So it talks about honoring your parents, and then underneath that it says, oh, by the way, and parents, don't provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up and nurture them, right? And teach them about the Lord, right? But what is it we hear about honor our mother and father? And often you lose the fact that it also says to the parents, hey, don't provoke your kids to wrath. In other words, don't make your kids crazy. Well, I can't say that I haven't done that, but that's what it says, right? So this is Ephesians. It's like the tips, Ephesians chapter 6. The way I look at it, it's like the tips for getting along well in the world. All right. That's kind of how I do the Bible when I read it. Okay. So like I said, don't you all come for me. All right. So then we go on down and it talks about servants be obedient to, okay. Yeah. So you know that, yeah, servants be obedient to your masters according to their flesh. Okay, great. Now that little that little verse alone is where a lot of people in the United States, of course, had issue with, because it was a definite verse that was used to keep those slaves in check, right? And then, of course, the other side was very seldom read, and that was basically to keep working. And they said, and basically said, not with just eye service. In other words, they meant do your work and don't just pretend to do your work and try to look like you're doing your work, but show yourself to be a servant of Christ. Now, all right, I know. I just want you to get the background of what Ephesians chapter 6 is all about, okay? Because you need to know that. And then I'm going to define this word principalities because it's used in a verse. Now, the term principalities, the way they define it in the Bible is that it refers to spiritual entities and powers. In other words, forces, right? Without a defined name. For example, sometimes things can work together in our world, in our governments, in our communities, even in our families. And you wonder why things are working a certain way. Well, in Ephesians, they basically attribute this sometimes to a spiritual context, that these principalities are not physical beings, but they rather represent the influence of darkness, right? Things that are unseen. So, in a sense, they might represent how people think and feel and operate. Not exactly the person, but perhaps an idea, right? And these principalities can come from very, very dark places. So that is the term that is given to that word, principalities. And also in Ephesians, as they continue on, they talk about what you should do when you're working, that you're supposed to do well when you're in service. You're supposed to do your service and your work as if you were actually doing it to show your love of the Lord. That is how Ephesians is written, right? And then again, what did I say? It would give you one side of the coin, but then it would usually flip back in Ephesians 8 and 9. Basically, they're saying, do whatever you do it well, right? Whether you're free or enslaved. And then number 9 says, and the master, guess what? He is supposed to do the same thing. Again, Ephesians was a chapter where people would pick and choose the verses, but not read the totality because they, because in Ephesians it also is saying, even though they're giving that instruction on the side of the bonded or the free, the slave or the free, he's also saying to the master that you are supposed to respect the persons just like the master in heaven respects you. So, anyway, if you have time, comb through Ephesians. It's pretty fascinating. It's entertaining to me. It depends on how you read the Bible. But it is still a lesson in a good way to approach your life, right? If you're on the job, try to do a good job, right? It's nothing worse than going to a doctor, for example, and you're supposed to have great service and your doctor halfway does their work, right? Well, we all have a negative feeling about that. Has anyone ever enjoyed taking your car in for service and you take your car to a mechanic and you say, hey, my car is making this noise and I don't know what's going on. And they completely delve off and do other things that had nothing to do with the noise you're talking about. And they proceed to tell you about things that could come up in the future. And again, they haven't fixed the problem you were talking about. You see, I call that poor service. All right. But I get in arguments with people about that type of service. So what they're saying is if you're doing work, try to do a good job. Try to do the best work that you can do. And I think that is a great approach in life. Yes. And when you're talking about how Harry and Meghan work, that is exactly how they appear to operate. And so I have to support that. Right? I have to report that. Okay, so where was I? Okay. So the final point that I wanted to, I'm going to skip over that timeline. We'll get to that later. I'm going back and forth. So the final chapter, or that is of interest here, is chapter 6, also the verse 12. And here's why I wanted to define principalities, because it states here that what we are up against in the world, we're wrestling against different things in this world, but it's not exactly a person. It's not the people that we're really dealing with, that we're really having problems with, but that our problems and our fight is actually against principalities, right? In other words, the spirituality involved. Our fight is against the ideas involved. It's against sometimes the thought processes and these things that are sometimes very, very dark, not exactly an individual person. And that it's against powers and against the rulers of the darkness of the world, right? Against the spiritual wickedness. Now, remember, if you're wicked and you don't really have a job or you're homeless, no one really is concerned. But if you're spiritually wicked, but you hold position in a high place, you have control. Then I want you all to circle all the way back around to the beginning of my chat when I talked about how in the world would anyone have the means, the power, and the reach to have a smear campaign continue on a daily basis for more than 5 years, every single day, without fail, multiple people all over the world. But it is only now reaching that fever pitch because it has exposed itself so much. It has become it has begun to pull the curtain back on itself. And that is because we, the people, right, are beginning to ask questions, and we're beginning to see things, and we're beginning to talk about it. And the word is getting out, right? And so this spiritual wickedness is becoming visible in high places. And therefore, I'm always mentioning and I'm talking about how the media is set up to perform that control, but it's losing its grip because now so much of the people can now touch and talk to each other in a different fashion. You know, that's what media is doing. TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. It's amazing. But keep your eyes open because, of course, the darkness and the spiritual wickedness is going to do everything that it can to infect even these means of communication. It is going to try and infect and control so that it can continue with that same project. All right. Now, all that being said, keep that in mind. I want you to keep those spiritual thoughts in because sometimes that's where you're dealing. And I also wanted to remind everyone, please go to Instagram if you wish, join or get yourself set up so that you can follow the new page that is coming out that is being set up by Megan, the Duchess of Success. And she is starting a new Instagram presence called American Riviera Orchid. And we're going to be referring to that as ARO. Why? Because that's short. And her features will be a lot of things that are considered elegant tableware, kitchenware, and knickknacks and elegant, tasty treats. Okay. So if all of you who are interested in becoming elegant and high class, this is going to be the Instagram for you. Now, for me, I'm going to just be looking at it because I don't, unless I get a windfall and decide to purchase everything she has on her site. So just keep that in mind. That's American Riviera Orchid on Instagram. And I hope you all get a chance to check it out and enjoy it. It's going to be lovely. All right. So I'm about to wrap it up and I'm going to do a few last minute read throughs. And again, before I do that, let's say like, share, and subscribe. And everyone, please continue to enjoy your weekend. So let's see who we have here. Hi, Joyce Anderson. She says, I use the Bible as well. I am so glad that I am not the only one because I think people laugh at me sometimes when they see my take on some of these scandalous things. I have to refer usually to a Bible verse to get myself through the thought. It's crazy. And she also says here that, let's see what we have, that you're also saying that it's so true. They do not have love for each other. And that is why everything is always a competition. Exactly. Exactly. And it is, unfortunately, it is all they know. All that they know. This is who they are, right? It's amazing. And so again, and Andrea, if I'm saying that right, Aline said that we have to answer for every idle day on earth. That is correct. And it is hard sometimes to keep yourself engaged and active and to keep that energy up to do whatever work you are doing, to do it well, right? It's very difficult to keep ourselves moving in a positive way, but we definitely need to keep working at it. But thank you so much for your wonderful comments. I appreciate it. It is really nice to have people comment in the comment section. I definitely love that. So with that said, we're going to wrap it up. And I'm going to say again, thank you all for being here and sharing your time with me here at All for Success. And get out there and enjoy your Saturday and get your errands run. And we are going to still continue to support Harry and Meghan in the hard work and the good things that they do because they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. Thank you again for for being here.